This video is brought to you by Connext. Connext is a cross-chain protocol that lets you build cross-chain applications and experiences in a secure way. Rob and I really enjoyed their tech because they don't add any new security assumptions on top of the connected chains, as they don't rely on an external validator set or an oracle. Security is definitely paramount in DeFi, so we're excited to work with Connext. Hope you enjoy this video. What's going on, Rollup Nation? Hi, rollers. We're here today, day one of the Nebular Summit. I'm here with my good friend Dean. I'm rocking the IST hat, which you're going to find out about later, so stay tuned. I'm talking a lot about the Cosmos SDK, what's going on with app-specific chains, L1s, tons of really cool innovations in the Cosmos space. Pass it over to Dean. Dean, how are you feeling? How's everything going?
Thank you for having me. I am feeling great. We are here, as I said, in this now beautiful Paris sunny day, talking about all this stuff. June was an awesome month for Agoric. We deployed so Agoric is smart contracts in JavaScript. If you want 1 million developers, you got to meet them where they're at. And so we launched the stack of Agoric that has upgradable contracts and fine-grained asynchronous messaging between contracts and individually upgradable by governance and all these kinds of things. And then on top of that, we launched IST, where you're wearing the IST.
These are exclusive hats, guys. You must pay a lot of money for this beautiful fine wool.
That's right. Well, you have to fly to Paris and join Nebular Summit here, right? So we launched that, and now we're heading towards getting partners who've already been building on Agoric also launching coming up in the next quarter here. So it's a very exciting time. We go from working heads down, everyone in a room coding, to now we have this thing that people are starting to build on, and so it's really great.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, before we jump too deep into why this hat is so important, I think just the key thing that you've been ringing a bell on to us on our pod, and I think just generally over the last couple of years, is this idea of onboarding devs into crypto. And I actually recently just put out a tweet that pissed a lot of devs off. Like, I went into a part of Twitter, no, it's fine. I went to a part of Twitter that I did not ever know that I wanted to be a part of, which was dev Twitter, where they get very, very upset because I tweeted that we need to onboard new devs in different languages. And I mentioned C++, and Rust as part of an program that Arbitrum is launching, and I mentioned that it was easier, and that was not the correct terminology, and I got absolutely roasted very bad. But you guys are focusing on JavaScript, so talk to us a bit about the thought process behind there, how that's going, and how you plan to onboard tens of millions of devs.
Sure. So the first thing is JavaScript. It currently is deployed. It's got 14 million to 17 million developers, depending on who you ask, and it has evolved over the years to where what we've been in the standards committee for 15 years now, driving into JavaScript, strict mode, proxies, promises, all these things to enable us to lock it down. So what we actually build in and program in is what we call hardened JavaScript, which is works in any standard JavaScript environment, and it lets you program in the JavaScript you actually thought you were programming in, rather than something that got corrupted by a library that's trying to attack you, right? And so we build in JavaScript, but this style of JavaScript, it's used in Salesforce, it's in the upcoming MetaMask extension, it's used in brokerage terminals, and so JavaScript controls and orchestrates the behavior of literally trillions of dollars a day in value capture in terminals like Bloomberg terminals and Salesforce and all these things. So it is a language you can build robust systems in, and more importantly, it is a language in which you can build frameworks in, and that's a lot of the reason why JavaScript has such a hold on building user interfaces and building Web 2 applications. Is some expert can build a component, some expert in JavaScript can build a component for a beautiful rendering of whatever it is you want to see, and then a domain expert who understands art presentation or photography or whatever it is can plug it in and use it to build a site that is really focused on the usability in a particular domain, whether it's as I said, photo sales or gaming or finance. You really want that differences in expertise with a framework that lets them safely plug things together, and that's a big part of why JavaScript has been so effective. And so we are, that's what we think is necessary for the next generation of Web3 developers to come in. Is you got to meet them where they're at, and millions of developers. there are 6,000 Solidity developers. So whatever grief you were getting in that programming thing, it was from 6,000 people, okay? Right? There are 14 million JavaScript developers. It's 3 orders of magnitude, right? It's, you know, this versus that, right? Yeah. And, you know, and so to get all those people building in Web3, you got to meet them where they're at, and that's JavaScript.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I got a lot of flack for that one, but I think for a good reason, right? You have to know kind of what you're talking about, and clearly you've done your research about JavaScript, and you know, you are ready to try to onboard this kind of next generation of devs. You know, and kind of flipping the script towards Agoric, right, and the IST, which we're almost at, guys. So stay tuned. You know. IST is a stablecoin, which is, I'll give them a little hint. But before we talk about that, we saw a lot of development in stablecoins over the last, I don't know, year and a half, kind of post Terra Luna, post some of the unfortunate downfalls of stablecoins, depegging and things. We've kind of seen a lot of innovation. I was recently at Stablecoin Summit, some really interesting projects launched, new dynamics, new kind of technologies for pegging and for liquidity and positive liquidations, things like this, soft liquidations. But yeah, I guess, what's your mental model of the current state of stablecoins going back, you know, that 18 months? What were some of those downfalls that you saw? And, you know, kind of what were some of those ideas that allowed you to iterate in towards what you're building with IST? Sure.
So, now we were working on the predecessor to IST, which is IST but with a different name, as part of the Agoric ecosystem, you know, for the last couple of years. And that's partly because, you know, if you think about Ethereum, Solana, Aave, whatever, you're paying gas like on Ethereum with Ether, right? With ETH. And it's a volatile commodity, right? It goes up and down. It's not the same tomorrow as it was today. And that's, you know, if you think of gas as like rent or postage, that's like paying your rent with Apple shares, right? You can do it, but like 1,000 years ago, we all figured out that economies work better if you have a currency. If the price of my rent is the same today as tomorrow, or more importantly, next year, right? You know, so, you know, a fundamental thing that's largely missing in the blockchain economy, in the crypto economy, is long-term contracts, because you don't have this underlying pricing in terms of, you know, in terms of a stable value. And so we realized that we really needed an economy, if we were going to reach those millions of developers and let them roll out their business without having to be a crypto expert. You know, they needed to live in an economy where there was where you paid gas in a stable currency, so you could tell that it was the same price one day to the next. And so we were already building this, right? So Cosmoverse 2019, 2020, I don't know. The first Cosmoverse, I was there describing what we were building as a stablecoin, and the economy will, you know, enable rapid building and deployment and in a way that normal or fintech businesses or what have you, Web2 businesses would understand. And Sunny Aggarwal got really excited, you know, Sunny of Osmosis, about, oh my gosh, an atom-backed stable token. We desperately need this. You know, at the time, everyone was using UST, but lots of people knew it was architecturally problematic, right? It was not a collateralized stable token, even though people, you know, people would make those claims. And so everyone was like, it's the only game in town. It's not great. It's better than nothing. And I'd really like IST to get done, or, you know, it's called Run at the time, before, you know, these things go apart. Right? When he said that, we realized that this stable token that we were building, which is, you know, MakerDAO inspired, you know, over collateralized stable token, so designed to have a robust, solvent, long life to support growth of a large economy. We realized that it wasn't just for us, that we had all the pieces we needed to have a stable token for the Interchain, because we were already planning to have it be backed by Atom, essentially, liquid stake, because we've always been Interchain first, you know, native Interchain, this idea of lots of different independent things that are all able to voluntarily collaborate, and this interoperability. And so, you know, we were already built that way, and realized that, oh, we should really make sure everyone's attention thinks of it that way. We prioritize design decisions that way. We get input that way. And so we renamed to the Interstable token, and that was sort of the launch of that. Now, we rolled that out at Gateway in, you know, which coincidentally happened 4 days after UST collapsed, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Everything's falling apart. The world, you know, the sky is falling, and so forth. And that conference really turned a lot of Cosmos stuff around for two reasons. One is there's all these projects on Terra that really were doing cool stuff in WASM. But Terra was kind of Cosmos and kind of isolated, right? It clearly used the tech stack, but it was sort of growing in a different place. And so they kind of showed up and shell-shocked that their world had just been knocked out from under them. And here's, Osmosis and Juno and, well, now Neutron and all these things going, you've got a project. We're still alive. Everything's awesome. Everything's great. Come and build on our platform. There were grants programs instantly stacking up to fund these projects and all that kind of thing. And we came in with, here's IST, here's why it doesn't have the problems that something like UST did, here's why it will be robust and solvent, here's how it unlocks the asset value that you all will be creating. It's not just, a play to make our token valuable, it's a play to make the backbone of an economy work so we could grow a very large interchain economy. And so that event kind of kicked things off. Now since then we've had obviously, not just out in Cosmos, we had lots of other interesting experiments that were a lot more, reasonably solvent but still interesting, like Frax or something like that. And we've had bridges, Axelar and Gravity, that really came online and let us bring over USDC, USDT, DAI, and other coins. And so we integrate those into IST. And now there's a bunch of these native tokens coming in. And so, that's sort of the state of it now is so IST is collateral-backed stable, fully collateralized, over-collateralized stablecoin with multiple mechanisms for minting, right? The key limitation in a stable token is, can it grow with the size of your economy? Not, we're not fond of artificially growing it by crazy 20% guaranteed return kind of stuff, because ain't no such thing. But you want it to grow with the size of your economy naturally, and to do that, you've got to be able to back it with all the possible assets that might be reasonable and solvent and that you could do, right? So if you have dollars, great, you can put dollars in a bank account and mint the stable token that way. If you have Atom, there's $billion plus, right? There's billions of dollars in Atom that currently can't be liquid. They can't fund something because you can't mint a stablecoin against them. By enabling vaults, now all of that asset can be made much more liquid, so you can mint IST against it and go off and buy things in Osmosis, or buy NFTs in Stargaze, or start to buy compute time on Akash, tickets on Omniflix. I mean, it's one of those things where once you've got a currency economy, now that one asset lets you just power through and do lots and lots of stuff. So the key heart of IST is that enabling of multiple mechanisms, extending it to include, dollars in a bank account that we outsource to USDC and USDT and others, right? They're already doing that work. Someone will come along with other real world assets, and that could be incorporated. And then natively, these MakerDAO style vaults, these CDP vaults, where you can lock up a digital asset, the kind of things that we all make, as I said, Atom, Osmo, Build, etc.
Yeah, lots to unpack there, as per usual with conversations.
I put on my IST.
With Dean. Here we go. All of the alpha has been dropped here. To summarize, kind of innovating on those issues of UST and just like the broader stablecoin environment. It's unfortunate that UST had such a big impact on Cosmos. I think that's kind of, like you said, gone and in the past, and kind of building for a better future. It seems that IST has no competition, if I'm not mistaken. Is there another stablecoin currently being developed other than like USDC and the bridge ones?
Right. There's the native cash ones. There are some out there that are launching, which I won't name, but you can go look them up. But there are a couple things that are key issues in any stable token design, and we've been watching these other projects, and they're sort of dropping the ball on one or the other. We try not to drop any of these things, and we haven't so far. But this is one of those things where you don't want to. It is a win for all of us if there's some competition here, right? Because DeFi summer happened. You started to see DeFi when the first stable token rolled out, but DeFi summer happened because there was more than one, right? So
of course.
we welcome native USDC. We welcome native USDT. We welcome good bridge DAI, right? Because that makes for, users don't want to use a bunch of these things. They want to just be able to take whatever they've got and use one payment mechanism. That's what IST gives you on the interchain. But the economy, it makes it much more rich, right? So, CMDX, USK, these are the, okay, I named them.
A good guy.
People bring on Frax, whatever it is, right? Those have different or subsets of the mechanisms. There are choices one makes about the design of your oracles. There are choices one makes about how you do liquidation. And, all of us need to learn from each other, but you really want, very thoughtful, very high quality mechanisms for all of those, for governance, et cetera.
Yeah, so are those the key parameters are what you just mentioned? Could you repeat and kind of go into those a bit further?
Sure. Yeah. So, okay. So first there's vaults and PSM, parity stability module. So I'll start at since we initially launched with the parity stability module, I'll start there. That's where I can bring some other stable token, risk managed, selectively controlled what stable tokens you would take, and mint IST directly with them. So I can basically bring USDC and buy IST, and then the USDC becomes essentially collateral, controlled by the contract, like right? And then you can take IST and buy the USDC out, and so it's just one-to-one swaps with high quality stable tokens. Where this is where I say we outsource the bring dollars to a bank account to USDC, right? And there's a lot of dollars to bring to a bank account.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but I don't have $1 million to bring to a bank account, and in order to mint IST to play on the market, right, or to participate in the market. And so that's great for people who do, but for people who built a valuable chain and built assets, they might, that won't work for them, right? But it's really important, right? There's some people that go, oh, it's not decentralized, et cetera. It's like, there's a lot of dollars people have in a lot of bank accounts. And there's multiple mechanisms, right? There's USDC, there's Paxos, there's USDT. There's multiple mechanisms of converting those into an on-chain asset that one can then mint IST against. And it's really valuable to have all those mechanisms, but you really want them, right? And part of the reason you really want that is in support of the vaults mechanism. So the vaults mechanism, a vault is, I bring some volatile asset, right? I bring, Atom is our first one, ST Atom, whatever. But in the real world, this model has existed for a long time, hundreds of years, where I bring a house, right? And the house has a volatile value, but I can get a home loan against it, or I can get a line of credit against it, or whatever it is, minted where the house is worth, $100,000 and I can get $50,000, right? And if the house value goes down, I might have to pay off my loan quickly, or they may foreclose it. But usually house values don't go down that much, right? But people can do that against anything. They can do that against gold, which is, again, volatile commodity. You used to be able to pay for it. Not very efficient. Much better to be able to take it to a bank, get a line of credit, mint dollars, and go buy stuff with dollars. And so this is the same mechanism, only what you're locking up as a digital asset. The key to that working is not whether the digital asset goes up and down, because that's the point, is you've got digital assets go up and down. It's whether, if it goes down below how much you minted, right? I bring $200 of Atom, I mint $100 of Atom, and then the value of my Atom falls below, say, 150. At that point, the bank, the smart contract needs to sell it to cover what they minted and pay off their debt in order for it to remain fully collateralized, solidly backed, solvent system. And so that's automatic, right? Smart contracts watch oracles. They go, oh, the price is falling. I need to liquidate this position. And so it goes off to some kind of liquidation mechanism.
And I just want to touch on that real quick. We've seen a development recently from, let's just start all the way back from like how perpetual swaps liquidate you if you go under collateralized to zero. Right. Traditional banking and options, if you get under collateralized on a stock exchange on options or on a high leverage position, you go zero or negative even. In 2008, plenty of people went negative, tens and hundreds of thousands, and their brokers calling them to buy more, to take more money so they can pay off this negative balance, right?
Yep.
So DeFi kind of innovated on that in crypto as a whole to where centralized exchanges only zeroed you out to zero. Right. Like Binance, BitMEX, 0. Like that's the lowest you can go. So a step in the right direction. Now DeFi, when 𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗵 launched and Maker and Compound, they have 10% liquidations on different assets. So you have some time to pay back your collateral and you only get a slash like 10%. Now 𝗵𝗵𝗃 has just launched a very soft liquidation mechanism where effectively you can almost not get liquidated, but you can take 1 or 2 to 3% of your kind of collateral, and you get to, you have some time to pay it back, so you don't get slashed for the whole 10%. What is the Agoric model? What is your thought on this, on the transition between, let's say, hard or fast to soft liquidations? And do you think that that's an evolution that's going to keep going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great question because that's really critical to a bunch of things, and that's one of the differentiators. There are a lot of these systems where, okay, there's a liquidation threshold of, let's say, 150%, which is to say, if my $200 falls to 150, now it's going to go, it wants to liquidate me. That's great if you want to suck value from your customers, right? Many of these things, they make a lot of their revenue from liquidation fees. And what they do is, man, as soon as the market falls, bam, I'm gonna go after it, right? In margin positions at stock exchanges, yes, you can go negative, so that's a separate issue. But it's not that you're racing the market to cover your margin position, and if you go too far, then they're going to sell it all out from under you. It's you've got a day, right? You've got a bounded time, so you can have an orderly process for recovering your position. Now this is an example where at the two extremes are many of the typical, some of these other stable tokens. Market falls below the threshold, instantly your stuff goes off to liquidation, and so you have to be watching the market until, oh, I think it's going to go down, I'd better top up my thing, or I'm at risk, right? To us, and for an economy, the best liquidation is one that never happens, right? And so, like one of the things that, as an accident, that MakerDAO, stumbled into after doing, after various alternatives, is they will do an Oracle sample at 9 o'clock and go, okay, at 10 o'clock, we're going to liquidate at, $8, right? Or whatever, $8 per token or whatever it is, right? And so there's an hour there where everybody knows at the end of the hour, they're going to liquidate everything that's below that watermark. And that was in order to protect from Oracle vagaries, Oracle problems, like we saw in some of the recent stable tokens, where they had the incorrect Oracle architecture, price went down, a bunch of things instantly liquidated, but they got a lot of money for that. That seems like sort of the wrong incentive.
That's the issue there.
Yeah. And so they wanted to make sure that Oracle went down, crap, it's wrong. We have an hour to fix it. But the net effect has turned out that it works like a margin call. Oh my gosh, the Oracle went down. I have an hour to fix my vault. Doesn't even matter if the number was wrong, right? It's going to liquidate, everything that's above 10, and everybody's above 10. You're all, a big chunk of folk can go, I want to keep my vault, I don't want it sold. I can top it up for an hour. I can, do what I need to do. And what that means is you get much more orderly process, and you'll end up with these things where, the price of ETH fell, they're going to liquidate $3 billion worth, and by the end of the hour, $15 million in vaults get liquidated because these automated systems top up or pay off or make sure that they're sound. And that is a much, much healthier environment. So we were inspired by that to sort of follow that same regime to really try to avoid spurious liquidations, right? Because what you want is people using IST. What you want is the stable token broadly in use so people can go about their business. Most of your economy is not people that want to play games with your liquidation. Most of your economy should be people who want to spend money doing things. Yeah. And so that's our focus, is how do you grow a large economy, not how do you extract rents from people using it in our current very small crypto economy.
Yeah, and that's ever since I got onto Aave in like 2020, I've basically never gone back to like a high leverage perpetual exchange for any serious size. Like, of course, a little bit punt here and there if I think like CPI is going to do well or bad or short or whatever, something like that. But to hold serious size in a position, there's absolutely no reason to do it anywhere else but like one of these CDP platforms with a soft liquidation. So I think there's definitely product market fit there, and I think that that's the right mentality for the users, because frankly, if a protocol is going to do hard liquidations on chain in the future, they're going to go out of business because no one's going to use them. Why would I use that if I can go somewhere else with basically the same dynamics, the same rates, the same fees, because it's effectively a market-wide rate that has a better liquidation mechanism.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So IST's launch had a great month. Going forward, the cap is on. What's on the agenda? How can our users get involved? And as we kind of wrap up here.
So first off, I mean, Agoric built the core of it as sort of, IST is symbiotic to the Agoric chain and the Agoric implementation system. I run 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗵 where we build software, but we don't run, launch it, manage it, whatever. It's out there, and there is an Interchain community that is managing and prioritizing and that sort of thing to figure out what they want to build, and in some cases building it, right? For example, the Oracle network, right? The Oracle network was built by Simply Staking, or rather driven by them. It's operated by multiple Chainlink node operators. It was inspired by and uses components from the Chainlink architecture in cooperation with Chainlink. And so, Agoric has an Oracle network that we didn't do, right? It was part of the community that grew this thing, and that will start to become an Oracle network available to the rest of the Interchain as well. And now the community has proposed and discussed various additional collaterals, right? So now that it's out there with 𝗵. But with 𝗵, your other option is to stake 𝗵, and that, and there's a lot of value in doing that. And so the community is now working on st_atom, and we'll look at various other liquid staked atoms in order to be able to still have your capital that is getting you staking rewards, but be able to unlock it and leverage it and use it for cash. And so you'll be able to, and people are starting to work on multi-stage UI where you can just say, basically mint and swap. I've got a bunch of 𝗵. I want to buy something on Osmosis. Just go do it, right? And the 𝗵 comes over to Agoric, it gets locked up in a vault, you mint IST against it, it's moved over to Osmosis. Osmosis is, IST is about to be the only native stable token that is accepted as gas on Osmosis. Nice. And so you don't even need to have Osmo. You bring IST over and you buy something. That's and awesome. They do efficient routing, and they'll do it against all the
That's huge.
People. That's huge, yeah, it's awesome. I mean, the ability to easily unlock the asset value that you've got. See, I'm not quite the ability to easily unlock the asset value that you've got to be able to, as I said, swap on Osmosis, swap on Crescent, buy tickets on Omniflix, pay for compute time and get a deployed software running on Akash, all those kinds of things, based on having some asset that is turned into collateral. And so, there was at Gateway, there was a poll of, what collateral do people want to see next, right? And, Osmo, staked 𝗵, someone put Monero, whatever it is, right? Wrapped Bitcoin, nice. Wrapped ETH,
cool.
st_ETH, all that.
Yeah. So more collateral options, more capital efficiency for said collateral, growth of IST, and also just broader growth of the Interchain. So looking forward to that and participating in some of this. Thank you for your time, dude.
Thank you so much. Yep.
It's been a pleasure. Cheers.